the next event.
Hello everyone and welcome. We're here to discuss the metagame of the tournament, and I also have some pretty interesting guests. So my name is Philip Schulz and I'm joined by Stéphane Ivonff.
Hi.
He made top 8 in this tournament. Then Wojcik.
Hi.
He made top 4, but we basically decided before that to invite him for this since his deck was so interesting. And generally he brings a lot of interesting deck. And then we also have one of our featured creators, Joshua. I can't really pronounce your second name, but I just call it Zapdos TCG.
Let's just call it like that, yeah. That's Ivanoff, but yeah, Dutch.
Alright, so we're gonna look at the metagame of the tournament and discuss your decks as well. So, of course, to no one's surprise, we have a lot of ADP in day 1 and in day 2 as well. We kind of see that the conversion rate of ADP was not too great compared to others, but I mean, it's easily understandable. If it's 80 players with ADP, there's also a lot of players that are not too experienced with the deck, and if it's a big mass, it's always harder to have a good conversion rate.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't variance when you have such a when so many people play the deck. There's less variance. Like when a few people play one deck, it can spike very hard.
Exactly, like your deck, for example, has a conversion rate of 100% to day 2 and 100% to top 8. So I mean, it just makes it way easier.
That's because of at the internationals there was a lot of Zacian ADP and the conversion rate was very good there. So people thought, oh, I want some points. Let's play this deck and let's go for it.
It's just a very good deck. There's no terrible matchup.
Yeah.
You can beat anything, so when you don't know what you play, you just pick this one, right? I mean, it was still the most represented deck in day 2 by far, so even though the conversion rate is not that good...
We're setting, you just look around ADP.
Yeah.
Exactly, and another interesting deck we've seen is Pikachu. It's not really surprising for anyone, but it had a pretty good conversion rate, going from 20-something players, 27 in day 1 to 4 in day 2. Okay, 4 in day 2 is not too much, but it's been around at the top tables quite a lot. It looked like a dominant force, but in the end it fell short of even making... It did make top 8 with Magnus Petersen, but it didn't make it into top 4.
Two
made top 8.
I think there's a lot of players that did not expect Pikarom to do this well. Maybe they cut Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff from the list completely. Maybe they didn't play Kyogre well or whatever, and they just run the opponent over. It's a really quick deck, really consistent.
Yeah, well, Pikarom is just, as you said, it's very quick, consistent, right? It's a good deck overall, inherently, the power of things like Thunder Mountain, Full Blitz, Electro Power, Coco Prism is just so good. So, since it didn't do that well, you would expect... it was due for a comeback at some point. I expected it to be either this weekend or the next one. So I guess we had this first sort of Pikarom.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of players also, including stuff like Giant Charm and Chaotic Swirl, to maybe prevent that Lopunny, Jigglypuff and the wilder decks to take easy knockouts.
So I realized that the Big Charm is really huge for Pikarom, especially for the numbers. Myself, I play Baby Blacephalon, and just having that extra HP is too good.
It's for Zacian, right?
Yeah.
Mostly. I mean, otherwise Zacian knocks out after creation.
As well to stop the Lysander lab, so
however, against Zacian, there is often the situation, because those players went for really aggressive builds, that they had to play a lot of Dedenne. So oftentimes when we had them on stream, the ADP player would just take out 2 Dedenne, just like we saw in the finals, basically, just against the Pika deck. And I kind of feel like Pikachu Zekrom, the players that did well went for a really, really very aggressive approach to the deck, and this kind of style is always bound to fail at some point.
Yeah, but I do think that's the right approach, because you can't really win in a longer game against if you want to play a bit slower deck, then you're just gonna lose to ADP Zacian. I think
with Pikarom, if you don't full blitz on your second turn, the game's over.
Yeah, and most of the times it was even over when they didn't manage to full blitz on the first turn. If they didn't go first, of course, because and they kind of try to exploit the one weakness that the ADP deck seems to have, which is the early game that needs to find the setup exactly, and that's not really doing much. And a lot of times we saw a quick turn 1 full blitz and it just overwhelmed the ADP player completely, and lost quickly afterwards.
There was a list that got top 4 at the latest Champions League in Japan, which was a very turbo-based Pikarom, you go for a tournament full blitz. But he also played like one interesting tech, which was a wait and see hammer.
Yeah, with Faulkner.
With Faulkner, you can search it on tournament, right?
I think Magnus played it as well.
Did he? Okay, I didn't know if people played it or
and
not.
Magnus were playing the same 60, and I think they both played it.
Okay, interesting.
They played Swell, they played, I think, double Giant Charm and Wait and See Hammer, all for the ADP matchup.
Yeah.
So you see people actually putting decks in their deck just for that one deck.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, right?
I do think ADPization is so strong compared to everything else.
It's either you play it or you find a way to beat it consistently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also have another deck which made top 8. The Malmo Muto deck only made one day 2, but it performed quite well. He lost his win and in, I believe. No, he tied his. It played a win and in situation, but it tied. Right.
Yeah.
But still, there was one player only that managed to make it into day 2, and it was a deck that was very much falling out of favor. And for example, Robin played the same deck that Tord played in the cup today, and he said that he lost twice to Malmo Muto, and it kind of feels like a hard matchup. So that might be a deck that's coming back into the meta and trying to, do well.
I think that the reason for that is that at the Oceania Internationals, the Mewtwo with Welder was the preferred list right now. It did so successfully. Nico Alabas won, so people actually said, screw Malamar, going for the Welder box, kind of with Mewtwo. All these attackers, just Welder and it's okay. So I think that's why it's fell out of favor a little bit from popularity.
Yeah, it also quite underperformed at Oceania, right? It didn't really make it to the top tables, even though
it was seniors, right?
All right. Yeah, but I mean in Master, but yeah.
Yeah, but like I know, but it's still
not
nothing. You know, it's a big tournament. So
yeah,
I mean, it's a good deck. Also, I think Mewtwo Malamar is one of the like the only deck right now which is really using money to its full effect. Like there are decks that struggle with money, stuff like Blazeathlon, I'm sure we'll talk about it later. Stuff like maybe like Mill can have issues, setting up if it's only constantly hit by money plus Nightwatch. And lots of decks are not really using money too much, at least compared to what we can see from Japan, for example. Yeah. But Mewtwo Malamar definitely uses it. So if people don't prepare for money and stuff like this, it can really have a big advantage.
The reason why I'm afraid of like Mewtwo Malamar is just because of Horror House. Horror House is such an insane attack.
We've
kind of
seen
weird that it's been around for so long, and now all of a sudden it feels like it's super oppressive.
The new first turn rule, right?
You don't do anything on your first turn, and then you get Horror House.
Attach, pass, Horror House, donk.
And any super charge you have is just fuel for Poltergeist on turn 2.
Yeah, we've seen a donk with Horror House on stream yesterday against the Mekago deck, where he just one Pokemon, Horror House next turn, Poltergeist for the game.
Well, I mean,
and
also happened to me.
Also considering the money.
I won the 2 other games.
Okay.
Yeah, also considering the Mani, we saw pretty deciding Mani in the third game of finals where Tord used that Mani and Medi basically drew nothing of it and had to interpret Sword to get out of it.
He also got the KO and there was like a lone Absol that he had to promote or something. It was an insane move.
In game 2 Tord went pretty aggressive, but in game 3 it was really that Mani bricking Medi for that crucial turn that gave Tord the advantage again. Then another interesting deck, Mekago, was not that popular at OCIC, but a lot of Japanese players brought it. Seems to be very popular.
It had a very good conversion rate at OCIC, like 60% or something.
Yeah. I think that was mostly Japanese players, right?
Yeah, that's maybe true. And they're maybe a bit more experienced with the meta.
So that also popped up here. Unfortunately, it didn't manage to make it all the way to top 8, but it did quite well. And the last deck to talk about quickly is the Blacephalon deck that you played, the baby Blacephalon deck. Some people are saying that it's the only bad matchup ADP has. So what do you think about the matchup? We've seen you lose to it in top 8.
I mean, I did lose to it. I did beat it before, right? I beat Tord, I beat Medi in rounds, so it's still a good matchup. Medi's list was definitely the worst list I could play against, I think, because he has Pokemon Catcher. And he had Cotic Swell, which is annoying, and he had Metal Pan as well. So that's Metal Frying Pan, yeah.
That's
thank you.
Huge
So
for the deck.
yeah, that's a lot of things. That's and also Big Charm for ADP, which means you might have need a 7th energy to take the knockout. That's a lot of things that are very annoying to deal with. But even with that, it's still a winnable matchup. And if they don't have all of this, it's favored. It's not an auto win by any means. But yeah, Blacephalon can. Just basically, it's kind of a question of tempo, I guess, because by the time that the ADP gets ready to use alteration and then start, attacking, Blissifron is already ready to take the big 300 damage knockouts. So that's why it has a good matchup.
Yep.
And,
so this might be something we see rise in popularity again. So thanks for joining us, guys. And this will be it from us, but we also have some more content coming up for you. So stay tuned.
Ciao.